Welcome to this fantastic session. As you all are dropping in, we would ask that you go ahead and put in the chat where you're based. That's always fun to see what your area of expertise is to help our panelists have a better sense of the use cases that might be most helpful to you. And then we want to get a sense of your general experience with AI agents. So we're asking you to drop in a 0, a 1, or a 2. Don't feel sad about the 0. The 0 is totally okay. The 0 is you don't really have any experience with AI agents yet, which is why you're here, which is fantastic. The 1 is, you've done a little bit with it in your personal life. And then the 2 is that like you're full bore, you're launching this at work, you're doing it all the time professionally, and you're here to be kept on your toes. So please give us that information in the chat. We're so excited to have you here, and we're so excited to have these wonderful speakers for this amazing session. We'll wait just a couple more minutes as people file in, and then we'll get started. Ooh, there's a great mix of experience coming in. And you guys are all over it with the note takers. Lots of fun note takers joining the session.
We have somebody joining us all the way from Brazil. That is awesome.
Isn't that fun? Love it.
Welcome, welcome.
Lots of product friends. A breakup artist. Someone who wishes they knew 007 better. Fantastic. All right. Just about one more minute and we'll get going. All right, friends, thank you so much for being with us here today for our amazing session on AI agents. We are so lucky to have Tatyana Mamut and Subha Shetty here with us today. They are coming to us from Wayfound.ai. Dr. Tatyana Mamut is a transformational technology executive with experience leading the creation of successful new products and businesses at all sorts of cool places like Nextdoor, Amazon, Salesforce. She is now the CEO of Wayfound.ai, a Gen AI agent success platform. She also coaches and advises tech leaders to make bold and courageous decisions that will bend the trajectory of the world, and serves on the board of directors for high growth tech companies such as User Testing and Sauce Labs. Welcome, Dr. Tatyana. And we have Subha Shetty, who is the fractional chief AI officer for Wayfound.ai. She's a visionary product and technology leader who has transformed global retail and marketplace platforms at eBay, Walmart, Upwork, and Fanatics. With a proven track record of scaling platforms and delivering market-leading solutions, she's leading the way with an AI-first approach. She also conducts AI and Gen AI workshops and training for corporations to dramatically up-level their Gen AI game. And for anyone joining us who's not already familiar with Sidebar, we just want to say welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Sidebar is an incredible community to help professionals in all sorts of ways to further their careers, their networks, their skills, learn about amazing things out in the field, like all the latest with AI and all sorts of other incredible programming. and networking opportunities. So definitely want to give a shout out to Sidebar, who is sponsoring this talk. And there's lots of ways to learn more about Sidebar if you're interested in learning more. But without further ado, let's please hand it over to our incredible panelists for a chat on AI agents.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine, for the introduction. Christine, can I switch slides with you, please? Awesome. Thank you. Can you all see the slide that says transform your 2025 roadmap with Gen AI agents?
Yes, but you can put it on slideshow.
Okay. Are you still seeing the left thumbnails?
We see
No.
we.
Oh,
you
we're seeing the top of your screen.
got
And
it.
it doesn't look like the full slide is taking up the full space.
Got it. Okay. How's this?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So thank you all so much for joining. As Christine kindly mentioned, we live in an age of AI and agents are all around us. So Tatyana and I are doing our bit to bring this content to you for all of you to be able to really up-level your agentic game. The presentation and the workshop just follows a few moving parts. The first is we'll tell you a little bit about agents. We didn't want to assume everybody knows what agents are and actually show you an agent and how an agent is actually managed, which is often the most overlooked part of building an agent. And then we'll go into a hands-on exercise of a 3x3 agent strategy canvas. That's right, you heard it here for the first time. It's an ASC template that we will all share. We will share with you at the end of this presentation, but we will also jam on that together. And this is basically really intended to take any strategy and roadmap that you have and up-level it. And obviously, we'll have lots of Q&A after that. You're all with me so far? Awesome. Thank you. So let's take a quick moment and step back and look at what are the strategy themes that are defining 2025. This is not just for technology companies. This is for most companies across the board. And I presume most of us here in this discussion today are in technology companies and hold technology roles of some sort of fashion. So here's what the Deloittes and the McKinseys are saying. The three themes that are ringing across strategy across the board is first, balancing efficiency and growth. The second is investment in digital transformation, specifically AI. And the third is building to an aspirational level of ESG and sustainability. So let's dig a little deeper into this. This balancing efficiency and growth is an interesting one. I remember pre-2023 where you could actually choose your lane. If you're a high growth company, you could actually choose the growth path and not worry about profitability and efficiency. I mean, Amazon is a great example, even to this date. And if you are choosing the efficiency path, then you could actually choose that and stick within that lane. And anybody here work in a bank? It's all about kind of like efficiency, right? At scale. Now, investors, CEOs, CXOs don't have that luxury of choosing those lanes. Why? Because costs are rising, customer acquisition costs are rising, capital expenditure is rising. And despite US GDP only being at 2% and EU even lower at 0.9%, you are all, as leaders, expected to drive more aggressive growth and not just that growth, but balance that with efficiency. I mean, it's really tough to be able to tough out there in terms of this strategy theme. Are you all with me? Are you guys, are you seeing this more and more in your conversations with your leaders? I see some head nods. Yeah. And then the second, I think all of us understand digital transformation, specifically related to AI, is paramount. Most companies, even if you're not a technology company, are investing in it. And if you are a technology company, you have a little bit more of a, I think, you already have a heads up in terms of the investment that you've already done in digital solutions, but you're still investing in data, privacy and security, and just basically more seamless customer experiences. These have become kind of like the norm. Now, when you dig deeper into where AI investments are going and generative AI investments are going, the innovation is expected in multimodal capabilities and in specifically agentic systems. And you know that agents are all around us. And so this is a great discussion for all of us to come together and really dig deeper into this and get equipped with the agent strategy canvas. The third is ESG and sustainability. This is not just about becoming a climate tech company or harnessing, climate tech technology. This is about becoming a more resilient company in terms of protocols and governance. Companies are being asked to do more in terms of better governance, shareholder rights, relationships with stakeholders, suppliers. Product leaders, I know, are being asked to span not only product and technology, but think about the economic, social, environmental aspects of how to build products. And so resilience is, I think, a common theme, I think, across the board that is coming across in 2025. Whether you are balancing efficiency and growth, whether you're investing in digital transformation and AI and generative AI, or you're building more sustainable products. All with me so far? So again, this is the context of what we're operating in. And as I said, agents are all around us. If you don't believe me or Tatyana, take what the leaders are saying. Jensen Huang, in his famous CES keynote earlier this year, basically said, agentic AI is the new digital workforce and a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. In the future, there will be companies where there will be people and agents working together to be able to develop solutions. That's the future we're heading into, and that's the future we all need to prepare for. And if I had to quote many other leaders, I would run out of space and time. So this was one telling one that I think was out there that I think forced all of us to kind of rethink the way we're imagining the new digital workforce. So let's take a moment and think about what are AI agents. We've all heard about this. So what we're going to do is going to give you a little bit of a definition, but also more importantly, a demo of the agent, and most importantly, how you manage these agents, which, as I mentioned, is the most overlooked part of actually creating an agent. So what are AI agents? AI agents can do three things. The first is they can interact with users in a more personalized way. The second is they can take action in systems and with access to different tools. And the third is they can think and decide on their own. They're called agents because they have agency. They're free to kind of think and decide. And the enablers to be able to interact with users is the data and the context that it has so that it can deliver a more personalized experience. The action that it takes is because of all the connections to various tools so that it can actually take the right action with the right tool in the right context. And they're free to reason and they can think. And it's actually a really interesting, but also probably a tad misunderstood part is agents don't have rigid workflows. They think dynamically based on the context, based on the tool, based on the situation. And these LLMs are the enablers that actually give them that context, knowledge, and understanding for them to be able to take that agency and take that action. So now with that little definition, we'll now go into actually seeing how an agent works, and importantly, seeing how agents can be managed to harness the success of them. Tatyana, over to you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Subha. I'm presenting my screen now. So Wayfound, what is Wayfound? We are an agent manager, and we are a startup. We have 6 humans working in our company and 26 AI agents. So we've been working with AI agents for over a year, and we know how to make them successful. And so this is our real Wayfound org. You can see we have lots and lots of agents. This is our whole kind of network and how we've developed our agents. You see there are some agents that are not connected to others and not connected to any other actions or other tools, but I'm going to tell you and show you how they can actually collaborate with other agents in a minute. Now, having the whole network mapped of your AI agents, you'll hear a lot of talk about AI agent networks. And this is the visualization of an AI agent network, again, within Wayfound. And the reason it's really important to visualize it is because you lose track of how the different agents are connected to each other. You're going to be building probably agents that are specialists in one area, and then connecting them up with other agents, just like you would in an organization where you have a salesperson who's interacting with a marketing person, right? They're both experts in their own function, but they might need to do something together. So for an example, for an event, right, you might need the marketing person to set up the event, and then the salesperson to then access that setup and that description of the event to then send out the invites to all of the customer contacts to that event, right? So you have agents interacting with each other and specializing in their own functions at the same time. And so here, one of the things I want to show you, and I'm going to hone in on the sales agent because it's one that you can interact with right now. If you go to Wayfound.ai, you can chat with our sales agent. I'm going to demo it to you right now of how it was set up, how we manage it, and how we make it successful. So that sales agent, of course, it is an open-ended, ChatGPT style, interaction with a human, which means you can ask it any question, right? No question is off limits. There's no kind of buttons that you interact with it. There are some pre-canned sort of starter questions if you want, but you can just ask it anything. If you ask it to create a basically ask it for a demo, it will create a contact in HubSpot because it's connected to our HubSpot account. That's our CRM system. If you ask it a question about the roadmap or the product, it will actually contact the Wayfound helper agent because the Wayfound helper agent is the one that helps our customers with product issues, and it's the expert on the product. So as opposed to trying to cram all the context about the product and all the information about the product into the sales agent, in addition to everything else that the sales agent needs to do, we've just said, hey, if there's a product question, go ask the helper agent for help. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So you want to see how many times in the last 30 days has the sales agent contacted the helper agent for help? How many times has it created a contact? And then the helper agent sometimes also needs to go and get detailed information from our Gitbook documentation agent, which is an agent built on a whole different area, different platform, a different system by Gitbook. Okay, makes sense. So this is the type of network that you're going to be setting up probably as you get deeper into agents. So let's talk a little bit about how this agent was set up. Subha told you a little bit about the building blocks of agents. And you can see this one was built in our own platform, but now we're working with more agents that we're building on LangChain and Crew AI, and even plugging in agents from other places. You just saw the Gitbook agent. There's also a Box AI agent that we work with. We're going to be working and experimenting with some Intercom Fin agents as well. So you can plug in any agents into Wayfound and interact with all of them. But the main building blocks of an AI agent is you need to give it knowledge, right? So you need to train it. Think of it as an intern that you're training on what does this agent really need to know in order to do its job well, okay? So that's where you're connecting it with knowledge. Here, we've got PDFs, we've got screenshots. This is a multimodal agent, so you can put in even YouTube videos that it can play, all those different types of things, okay? The next piece is you want to tell the agent, remember, this is an intern who doesn't know anything about what it's supposed to do. So then you're training it on behaviors, right? How do you want this thing to behave, okay? And here you should, really define. A lot of times this is called prompting, right? And there used to be this thing called prompt engineering. The engineering is going away, and it's just really defining in natural language, what are the different aspects or different types of prompts that will define the behavior of this agent. And some of the common prompts that we use when we create agents are if-then statements, guidance on personality and tone, how the conversation should flow. So some like for example, if the user asks about pricing, direct them to our pricing page, right? A call to action, like what do you want this agent to accomplish? Are there any restrictions or limitations on the agent, and or any kind of custom commands? Okay, so that's the behavior. The next piece is guidelines. This is really critically important because you want to define, and I forgot to add in the agent tab that, or in the knowledge tab, that you want to define the agent's role and its goal. So what is this agent meant to do? Okay, that is very important because agents, AI agents that are built on top of LLMs are really good at understanding job roles. Like they've been trained on a lot of different job descriptions in the world. And so they are very, very good at behaving the way that you've defined, right? How they're actually supposed to, like, you know, kind of have a persona around a job role. And then, you know, the goal, which is to get the user to click on schedule a demo. Also, that kind of orients the agent on, like, okay, what am I supposed to accomplish? Now, in the guidelines, you want to define the evaluation criteria. So ideally, and this will get into the management of the agent in a minute, but ideally, you want to not just say, like, okay, I've set up the agent, now I'm going to, like, hope that it does what it's supposed to do and, like, cross my fingers. You want to actually define the evaluation criteria as you're building the agent, because you want to be able to say, like, okay, this is a really important behavioral guideline. This is my company policy. And if the agent does not do this, send me an immediate alert. Or if the agent, you know, does something else, it's okay, but I want to get, like, an alert at the end of the day that something goes wrong, right? That it did not comply with the guidelines. Make sense? So the guidelines are almost like a next step on the behavioral criteria, where you want to say, hey, if these are really the hard guidelines I want the agent to follow, and if it doesn't follow it, send me an alert. Okay. Next step is actions. You'll also hear this called tools or tool calls in other agentic systems. So you want to define what is the actions, what are the actions, or what are the other systems so that the AI agent is connected to. Here we have two different types of actions, right, with the sales agent. We have it being able to call the Wayfound helper, and we've defined the criteria for when it should call the Wayfound helper, another agent, and we've hooked it up to HubSpot. Okay, so now let's look at what happens when the Wayfound sales agent, oh, some of you guys are chatting with our sales agent right now. Look at that, 3 of you. Fantastic. So there you are. You all started sessions a few minutes ago when I mentioned it. Fantastic. So, okay, so what happens is, as soon as somebody starts chatting with one of our agents, here you can see that right now, the session starts streaming in, and our manager agent starts to read the session real time. And as you know, the interaction is happening, there are a couple of things that the manager is doing. The first is it's looking at what are the topics that are being discussed in the session. And then it starts to review the actual session in terms of how is the user sentiment? Are there any ratings on the agent? And if you are chatting with our agent right now, make sure you rate the interaction so we can get some of those user ratings. Were there any knowledge gaps, or is there any time that the agent said, I don't know? And then are there any agent to human handoffs? Some agents do that. And are there any guideline violations? Okay, so those are some of the things that our manager is doing real time. And then let's look at a longer one. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. So here the manager has rated this one yellow, which means there was no critical guideline violation, but it thinks that a human should review this particular transcript because the user sentiment was low, the user rating was low, and there was a knowledge gap in here. Okay, so every single session needs to be read and assessed about whether the agent is working well or not. Many companies right now are sampling transcripts and manually reading them. A lot of things get lost, and then things can go wrong. So let's look at then what happens as this rolls up. So this is in Wayfound, you will get to see all of your agents and how they are all working. So let's zoom into the sales agent that we were just looking at. So our sales agent has an average user satisfaction rating of 2.9 stars, and we can click in and see exactly what are the issues with the low ratings. And you can click into the actual recordings to see what's going on there. And you can see here in the first one, you also get, you see how it calls the Wayfound helper here? You can see, oh, was there a problem actually in how it called the helper? And you can actually see exactly what the interaction was between the two agents as well, right? You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to pull, like the, JSON files or anything like that. You can just go in here and see exactly what's happening. And then knowledge gaps. We have 3.6% knowledge gaps. Soon we'll be putting in benchmarks about, is that good, better than most agents? Is that worse than both agents? Most agents, that's coming soon. But here you can do the same thing. Our manager tells you, hey, Tatyana, you didn't put enough detail about available integrations, right? Like what integrations do we have? A lot, we're light on technical details. And so here you can actually see what's going on here. Click in, and again, you can view the actual recordings to see what happened. You get the idea. And most importantly, with guideline violations, are there times when the agent actually messed up, right? Did not follow the guidelines. And you'll see the most common place is actually the agent is making some really interesting inferences about going off the guideline. Even though the guideline was given to it, it actually thinks that the conversation was flowing in such a way that it didn't make sense to follow the guideline, which is actually a really interesting thing that's going on. And so here, when we do have that guideline violation, you can actually give some feedback to the manager to say, actually, in this case, it probably seems like the agent did the right thing and don't follow this criteria in these particular circumstances. So we have like an RLHF mechanism to do that. Make sense? So again, for product, and here you have action failures, how many times action failed, and then potential issues, and then all the key topics that the agent is talking about. So for product managers that are overseeing the build of agents, but often really have to be responsible for the long-term success of the agent, something like this, or a monitoring agent, an agent that manages and helps you really read all the transcripts, understand if there's something going wrong, is really kind of the long pole. And one other thing is you will have many agents also that are not orchestrated together. They're not wired together in a workflow. However, you, again, as the product manager, as the product leader, might actually need to bring the context of these agents together. And so how do you do that? If they're not wired together, if they're not orchestrated together, is there any way that you as a common business user who doesn't have access to the code can actually bring these agents together? And the answer is yes in Wayfound. So this is my favorite meeting, which is my meeting between my sales agent, my customer discovery agent, which has access to all the calls that we do with customers on discovery, and then the product roadmap agent. So there's an agent that just knows about the product roadmap. And so we have a meeting like you would with a sales team and a product team to give feedback on the product roadmap based on all the customer conversations and based on all the conversation with prospects. So you can actually just in Wayfound select the agents that you want to put in this meeting. You can describe what the meeting is about. You can create agenda items or questions that you want these agents to answer together. And then you just run the meeting, and let's see what the output is from one of these. Okay, so what are the top 5 features requested by customers based on the conversations and knowledge in the customer discovery agent? So then you get those answers. And then my favorite one is, which are the top 3 most requested features by customers that are not on the roadmap? And again, these agents come with their roles, their goals, and all of their context, all of their knowledge and information into this meeting. And they've answered this question by saying, hey, memory and contextual awareness, I don't see that on the roadmap. And a lot of customers asked about it. On-prem solutions, which we've now put on the roadmap because of this insight. Actually, this happened a few weeks ago. And then Google Drive real-time updating as well. And so these are some of the ways that, again, the product managers that are responsible for the success, long-term success of AI agents can actually do things with them that maybe aren't originally wired into the technology. Make sense? And we're happy to answer questions a little bit later, or if there are burning questions, we can answer them now. Okay. So new phrase, this meeting could have been an agent. Absolutely. There are many meetings now that we don't have because we just have we literally have the AI agents just meet as opposed to humans meeting. So it's pretty great.
Awesome. Aside from, I really enjoy working with Tatyana and the Wayfound tool. I learned from her and about agents on a daily basis. What I'm constantly surprised about is, was I speaking while I was on mute the whole time? Oh my gosh.
Only part of the time you were speaking, then you went on mute, then you went off mute.
Oh my God. Thank you, Rebecca. I don't know how that happened, but I was saying that, I've seen about 100 agent demos. There are so many companies right now that do demos. If there is one thing that you want to walk away from this session, it is that one, creating agents may look shiny, but is actually not very shiny to build because there are lots of moving parts to doing that. And then the second thing is there is so much more that we can do with agents than just draft an email. It can actually create the email, send the email, follow up, do the meeting. And so think about agents as what they would do as autonomous workers with your guidance and directive to be able to really perform actions more effectively and have that agency to be able to do it, whether it is interacting with other agents and saving you time for a meeting or truly giving the level of insights and actually emailing it in a way and following up that would have taken you hours to actually do it. So let's go to the next part. Now, with that context of now you know what agents can do, like the breadth of it, it's not just one shiny aspect of writing an email. Let's go to the meat of this presentation, what you're all here for. Hey, I saw that there were a lot of product managers in this call. I'm a product manager by craft and training myself. I love templates and canvases. So I'm going to give you, we developed this as a framework to help you kickstart your agent thinking and strategy. So can you all see the strategy canvas, the Canva slide that I'm showing? Awesome. Thank you. Now, how we're going to do this.
Now you might just want to click on present so it's a little bit bigger because
okay.
I'm sure a lot of people can't read it.
I see. Got it. Yeah. Can you guys see this better? Okay, awesome. And can you all also see and access the Canva link that I have? So I'm sharing this Canva link with you. And so how we're going to do this is I'll set the stage for this strategy canvas, walk you through and actually show you an example strategy canvas. Now, with all the context of what you know that agents can do that Tatyana showed you, let's go through and let's jam on this strategy canvas together. And the idea is to come up with a high-level strategy canvas for your use case. So this framework, and as I told you, I love frameworks, is essentially designed to up-level your agentic strategic priorities. Like, so from, hey, yeah, agents are all around us, we should do something about it. It'll help you go from that thought process to actually, what do I do? Where do I start? What's the first step I should do? This is your first step. So how we're going to do this is, in hopefully you can access the strategy canvas. I've created some, duplicate canvases. I didn't expect, so many people to join, which is really awesome. Thank you all so much for joining. So claim your position on one of the pages. So duplicate them, claim your position, write your name on top, or write a use case on top, or just simply write something that basically will claim your canvas position. And we're going to jam on this together. So can you give me some hands up and head nods of when you've claimed your canvas slide, please, in Canva?
I see a lot of people doing it in the canvas, so I think we're good. Yeah.
We're good. Okay, thank you so much, because I cannot see the Canva on the side because this is full screen, so I appreciate your giving me the feedback, Tatyana. So let's dig into the strategy canvas. We'll go through each section. I'll show you an example sample canvas, and then we're going to jam on this together. So can you guys see the next slide that I'm trying to present? Can you see the example?
Yes.
Okay, so just building off what Tatyana mentioned about the, sales agent, I'm presuming a few of us are in some SaaS companies where we have some sort of like lead gen scoring model. So my example that I'm going to show you is how a lead gen scoring example of a strategy canvas would work. Now, the strategy canvas itself, as you can see, is divided into 3 parts. The first is design. The second is build, and the third is manage. Each are equally important. This is different from most software projects that we develop where we focus mostly on design and build and less on manage. Here, each one are equally important for you to be able to get the best success out of it. So if there is a second thing that you will walk out of this meeting with, which is the fact that these are all equally important and must be paid attention to. So let's get into design. First, select your scenario. Here, I've selected the scenario that I want faster action on my high quality leads. I'm describing how the current process works, like an ML program that scores based on revenue. My SDRs analyze it, create a draft proposal. That takes about 2 weeks. The entire process of actually addressing an HQL takes about a couple of months, and it involves 2 engineers, 1 PM, 1 SDR. This process is what I want made more efficient, better quality, simpler, and easier with my agent. The second is define your agent goals. What results do you hope to achieve? So for me, I want my agent to know my lead management cycle, able to respond to HQLs with a solid draft proposal in less than 5 days. And so we're cutting down weeks, months to days. I also want my agent to be very helpful to my SDRs, and it answers questions factually, friendly, professional, and helpful. And again, we're mostly product people here, so we speak KPIs. So what are the agent KPIs? I want less than 1% of my leads to not be scored. So I want most of them to be scored. I want 100% of my HQLs to have draft proposals in less than 5 days and less than 10% handoff to humans. And agent to human handoff is a whole session in itself. And here we're trying to kind of optimize for efficiency. So we want those handoffs to be deliberate. And then we also want an SDR CSAT of 4+. So that's an example canvas. I'm going to set a timer. Let's take 2 minutes and do your own design part. Let's jam on that. And if you have any questions, let's feel free to ask them so we can, I'm happy to answer. So let's take 2 minutes and do the design part. So Christine, I am not able to see the chat message too for some reason, the chat window. So if there are any burning questions, could you please bubble that up?
Absolutely. So far, there's lots of love for Wayfound, but not a specific question. Although while people are working, a question that I had is, so obviously you just mentioned that the handoff to humans and how it knows when to hand off to a human when it's reached its limit or feels like it can't answer a question or based on tone or all the amazing things that it sounds like they can interpret. You said that's, it's a whole other can of worms. But I wonder how, it's with these agents where you're combining a knowledge base with an LLM, right? In order to get the information necessary. When it comes to hallucinations, if there are particular things that you put into, if you tell the agent not to guess, if you have you found successful ways to limit instances of not just, I don't know the answer, so let me send you to a human, but worse, presumably, is giving somehow the wrong answer.
So it's interesting because we have not seen a lot of hallucinations in our own agents. I know people report hallucinations. I'm not sure how they're building them, but if you give the agent a robust enough knowledge base and you tell it exactly what its role and goals are, and you define the topics that it should be answering on, and say, do not answer on any other topics, we've seen these work really well. I think it's really more about how the agent is created. And when you don't give the agent a very clear role when you don't give it a clear goal, when it doesn't know what it should be answering on, what it shouldn't be answering on, and what it should be answering on, it should have in its knowledge base and in the databases that it has access to. When you set that up correctly, it works. Like, we don't see a lot of hallucinations. So I think where the other piece is not having too much context. A lot of people are trying to build these massive agents that know everything. The more that you do that, the more that you try to cram into one like non-expert agent, that's when they start going off the rails, because then they start to, just like humans, they start to get really confused. So if you keep them limited, experts, you define what they're experts in, you tell them what they should and should not be answering, and when to contact another one,
Right.
they're
The
pretty much
network
on the
effect
rails.
instead of a meta agent.
Yeah, don't do meta agents. Don't do one agent to rule them all. That's what my advice is. That's when they start to like get very confused.
Fantastic.
And think of them as interns. Like they're very smart interns that are coming out of college, but if you give them too much too fast and you ask them to do things, they'll start guessing. They're just like smart interns. They're like an intern, they're like a very egocentric intern from Harvard, right? He thinks he's going to know everything, but he doesn't if you didn't give it to him, right? That kind of thing.
Lots of knowledge, not a lot of context. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It looks like there was a lock on some of the pages. I have unlocked it, so I think you guys should be able to now, openly see it. Let me know if that's not the case again. But would a brave soul like to share their design? Just like 30 seconds, anybody?
Well, I love Jenny's if she's willing to come off of mute, because I've been looking at that one.
All right. Jenny, do you want to take a shot at it?
Not to put you on the spot, but
I know, yeah.
Maybe
no.
you can share what it is that you're seeing in Jenny's that is making you excited.
I don't want to speak for someone else, but yeah.
Fair.
Okay, why don't we do this? Let's keep going on, and we'll come back, and hopefully we'll have more volunteers. One of the downsides of actually unlocking is that my example slide was the second slide, and now it's like the 10th slide. I had to like look for it. So thank you all for your enthusiasm and actually using it. Again, we're happy to share this with you because I think this will take the conversation from agents are all around you to what the F do I do, in like as like a next step, and this will help you unlock that. Okay, let's talk about build. And I'm going to talk about build and manage in the same breath, and see if we have any volunteers, because we're also want to be respectful of time and leave time for lots of questions. The second part, build. This is how the agent will actually operate, right? This is the core. This is what we, as a lot of product people, engineering folks here, this is what we're used to, and this is what we build. So from an agent standpoint, we have to think about what the actions are, what colleague or expert agents that this agent can talk to. And Christine, you asked a great question. We're seeing a world where the best models are expert agents, a lot of expert agents talking to one another, and deliberate handoffs to humans. So we're seeing that as kind of like a good model, moving forward. So what does that look like for you? So let's define that. And here I'm saying they score leads, they identify HQLs, they create draft proposals and send them to Uma, who's the PM, Peter, who's the SDR, Sam, who's the engineering lead for internal review. And then, hey, it also triggers an alert to the same people, including the supervisor, if there is no proposal for or activity on an HQL for greater than 5 days. Imagine, how much we can get out of this, right? In terms of like productivity and efficiency, instead of, sending out 15 Slack messages and 2 meetings to kind of get the same information. The second part, very important, what knowledge, tools, behaviors should the agent have? What information should this access to perform its work? what tools integrations should it actually have? So here I'm thinking, because it's a lead scoring agent, it needs access to a leads database, an ML ranking algorithm, the leads are actually ranked. You probably have some sort of CRM, so some Salesforce, HubSpot, some sort of APIs, some examples of prior sales proposals of things that have actually worked and things that have not worked. And Christine, in this, you bring up a really good point about hallucinations too. I want to throw this out and actually say, when you are building any generative AI solution, hallucinations is actually a feature, not a bug. That's what generative AI does. It's supposed to generate new content, and we hope with training and context and good management that it will be more right than wrong. So I expect that even with this strategy canvas, just like managing agents, your first couple of iterations are going to be meh, but it's okay. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And the same way is how agents operate. The more you manage them, the more you train them. And Tatyana had this example of think of them as a really smart AI like intern. How will you onboard them? How will you train them for perpetuity? That's kind of like the mindset of how we need to think about this, not a fill it and shut it and forget it kind of model. And so continuing on that, it probably needs to do some analysis. So I'll give it access to some ChatGPT type interface. So that's the knowledge, tools, and behaviors. From a safety standpoint, and I cannot underscore how important this is, in speaking to actually a few of you here on the call, I see some familiar faces in terms of like developing, an understanding of how generative AI and agents work. Trust is key. And this is a key important of like, if you have any safety, privacy, security protocols, list them out here and expect that the agents should actually follow these protocols, because trust is not negotiable. Let's go on to the managed side. Again, as I mentioned, one of the top end things that you should walk away from this presentation is that we as product and engineering and marketing folks tend to focus a lot on the design and the build. That's what we've been doing a lot, and that's what we focus a lot on. In fact, software projects are typically 80% design build, 20% manage. What if I threw this out to you, that in the agent world, it's almost the reverse? But that's a whole session in itself. But managing an agent is extremely important. And what do we want to manage it with? The first, user satisfaction and performance. How is this doing? Like, how am I going to track and report this? You saw this dashboard on Wayfound. So just like that, I want a dashboard that shows my lead scoring agent and shows the agent activity in detail. Is it able to score every lead? Is it only using some specified data sources or going, and making some decisions, which could be both good and could be not so good? And importantly, reporting non-compliance via an email to the same folks like Uma and Peter. The second part of management is collaboration. How do I know that the agent is making effective handoffs to humans? So Christine, this part can be its own webinar, as you can imagine, because there is so much here. But again, the best agentic systems are experts, talk to one another, and have effective handoffs. So, and how are we tracking that they're doing successful or unsuccessful agent interactions? So I'm proposing that we have a report that shows for this lead scoring agent what the criteria was for the handoffs, should be documented clearly, the number of times it seeks help from any data source, any agent interactions causing frustration, and that the agent is adhering to all the directives. Simple, high level, good enough to kind of like get started. The third and final part of this is alerting. In my product management career, when it comes to like doing alerts, it's always the last thing that we do. And it's always that thing that we think, it's all about exception use cases. So if you get the alerting wrong, it's no big deal. Like we should just get the design and the build right. Again, that's one of the myths in agentic world. In the agentic world, getting the alerting right is actually really key for you to be able to understand how your agents are performing. So whether there is a performance issue, a knowledge gap, or a frustrated customer interaction, I want to know. And so my directives here are the alert should actually happen within 10 minutes if the agent is not able to complete a certain task, within 30 minutes if a tool is not responding, and it should be an email to Uma, Peter, Sam, whoever you want, with the date, timestamp, the root cause analysis, and the resolution options. Let's give another maybe 1 minute for folks to complete your jamming. And I'm really hoping that there would be a brave volunteer to share just for a minute and show your canvas. And again, I can guarantee if you go through this agent strategy canvas and iterate on this at least a couple of times, you will develop a high quality agentic strategy and be able to really up-level your roadmap and your strategy with this. And if you're a freelancer, if you're a consultant, if you're transitioning in between work, use a client's use case or use a personal productivity use case. Try this out, and and I'd love your feedback. Actually, we'd love your feedback on also how it goes for you. Okay, any brave volunteers to show your canvas for a minute?
We do. Renee, you want to come off mute?
Sure. So mine is not complete, but I had a couple questions that I thought might be relevant for everyone. I'm on page 9.
Do you want to share it, Renee, or should I share it?
You can share it.
Okay, let me.
So I took a use case that was just top of mind as we were going into Q2 and updating company OKRs. And this specific one was around trying to make our one marketing person more efficient, and also reflecting on some recent discovery where customers loved the annual highlight video that we sent them all. So trying to think about how could we leverage a potential agent to help to either maybe make like a quarterly highlight video or at least take over that annual one for this coming year. So that was my use case. And one question I had during this process is I found myself feeling limited by not feeling confident or knowing enough on what the agent could actually do. So there's one thing to do more like text based tasks where it's like it's writing. In this one, there's like creative aspects of it. And so what's your guidance as you're going through this if you feel like, oh, maybe I'm asking too much, or maybe they can't actually do this yet?
So Renee, I want to make sure I understand your question correctly. Is your question about like, how do I define more details regarding the creative aspects of the highlight video and where should I define it?
Well, I think the assumption in that is that they can make a highlight video, right? Or is that like expecting too much? And instead I should have them maybe like map it out or like create the prep work for it.
That itself is it's a great question. And that itself is an iteration. Can your agent do this or not? With all of the information, inputs, the build, the tools that you're actually giving it access to, can it do it or not? Can it do it at the level of quality that you would believe it or not? Is in itself actually, an experiment. What we find, and I think the product leaders that I've spoken to is mostly what I found is that we tend to more underestimate than actually overestimate. And underestimate from the standpoint of, the complexity, the deepness of the work, and just basically understanding what length the agent can do. So I would, given we are all in kind of early ages of agent economy, if you may, or the agentic world, I would totally stretch it and see what would come out of it. Obviously, after this strategy canvas, Renee, you'd have to go through the process of actually building the agent in a specific tool. And that's where you could play around and see what would come out of that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess it's you kind of just need to build experience and kind of refresh that experience ongoingly as everything's advancing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Yeah. Tatyana, did you want to add something to that?
No, I actually just got an alert from the manager that the agent, one of you guys actually managed to mess up the agent and got it to say that anyway, so it was actually really interesting. I was just looking at that alert and fixing the issue. So
Awesome.
Good job, you all. Yeah. It didn't fully hallucinate. It just reverted back to an old URL in its knowledge base. So I was able to update that. It was funny. Real time.
Is there any way, Tatyana, that you could actually show the alert you did and the error and then the correction?
I would prefer not to do that right now. But let's move on, and then Nico, we can follow up. But it's
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nico, you know how to find us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow up. Renee, thank you so much for your bravery in actually sharing your use case. obviously there is so much more that we can actually discuss. And I want to quickly throw this. We have some more content coming up. This is all to make you all as leaders more conversant in the agentic world. So like we did the agent strategy canvas, we have a much more detailed one and an agent requirements document that will be the input into a tool which will actually help you create the agents in the tool and actually see it live and experiment with it. Also a build by partner framework. I get this from product leaders and technology leaders all the time. Do I build? Do I buy? What do I do? So we're going to develop a framework and a solid one at that to be able to give you the insights to make those decisions yourself. And especially going back to the balancing growth and efficiency and developing economic resilience, we're all as leaders being asked, how much is this going to cost us? And so the old adage of 80% budget for software projects on design and build and 20% managed doesn't work anymore. So this is going to be appended a little bit. And so we're going to develop a TCO for that. So stay tuned for more content. We don't have dates yet. The best way to get these dates and stay on top of this is to follow Tatyana and myself on LinkedIn or connect with us. That's where we'll post and we'll give a big heads up in terms of when these events are. So you have time to kind of plan this and put it on your calendar. But we cannot wait to work with you to be able to help all of you become agent experts for this new world of, agent transformation. Tatyana, do you want to talk about the connecting AI agent and what's in store for that?
Yeah, so just to be clear, so there's a question also in the chat. And we can manage agents built anywhere. So the best way to think about what Wayfound is, it's an AI agent whose only job is to manage other AI agents. Some of you may have heard me talk about Wayfound, 6 months ago when we did have an agent builder. We are now focused on managing AI agents. So Nico, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to show you, because it actually took us back to our old builder. And I didn't want to confuse people more. But what you can do is, if you have an AI agent, whether that's AI agent built in LangChain or in Crew AI, or you built it directly on top of Anthropic or Gemini or anywhere else, or you've got one that you bought, say Intercom Fin or Qualified Piper, any AI agent, you can connect it immediately to Wayfound. And if you scan this QR code, we can just pop you right in. It's $149 a month. They're really easy to pay with your credit card, to try out the platform. And we will help, you on this journey of managing your AI agents and having control over them, putting them into meetings, all of those other things. So that's the easiest way to get started with Wayfound. And again, there are so many agent builder frameworks that we've decided to not really focus on that, but instead to really focus on this management piece. As we've been working with more product leaders, that's really where as Subha said, 80% of the actual pain is being successful with your agents, as opposed to the build of them.
And that's it from our end. Thank you, Sidebar. Thank you, Christine, for the opportunity to come and talk to all of you about our small, short experience with agents.
Well, and I would just say that based on the feedback we're getting, based on the information in the chat, it sounds like there's a lot more that people are excited about in this area. They want to know more about how to work with agents, how to manage agents. I would encourage people, if they have follow-up questions, to put them in the Sidebar chat, and we can monitor there too and answer anything that didn't get answered in today's session. And of course, we'd ask you to please, with this QR code, share your feedback on the session. It helps everyone at Sidebar know how to better shape programming for your deepest desires and interests as we move forward. And I know Tatyana and Subha would love to hear what you thought about the information shared today and how they also can get people the best information possible on this topic. So thank you so much, everyone. The conversation.
Oh,
wow, that was amazing timing. It just
yes.
went down. Yeah. Well,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Christine, you there?
I'm there.
You cut out, but we wrapped it up.
Oh,
so thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.